podcast. And that is right. You read the title correctly on this video. Today, we're talking about the top quarterbacks in college football. We're not talking just Power Four. We're actually talking about maybe that team in the group of five, or I think it's 5+ now, that
Yeah.
has a quarterback that you need to keep your eyes on. That's what we're talking about today. Because why not? It's our football episodes of Tubby. Jimothy, we're here. Welcome back to the show, man.
What is up? I'm ready to talk some college football quarterbacks.
Yeah, can you tell everybody who's maybe tuning in what sparked this conversation?
So there was a post by a outlet called College Football Report. They
Mhm,
put out a ranking of the top SEC starting quarterbacks.
mhm.
In the list, no offense to them, our opinion was not great. The fact that you have a guy that has started 2 games against UL Monroe and Mississippi State ranked number 1 ahead of 2 guys or multiple guys last year that had really good seasons
Yeah. Yeah, and
is
maybe we're wrong. But I feel like having Arch Manning at number 1 right off the bat is all hype and it's all name, not
yeah,
necessarily what we've seen. And to your point, Nessmeyer, Lenore Sellers, John Mateer, DJ Lagway, Pavia, Gunnar Stockton at times.
yeah,
Um, Not Ty Simpson. I don't even know how he's at 8. It seems
yeah,
way too high on this list. This is
yeah,
so far the names are in order.
yeah, and that's my thing is, like, some of the names on this list are just baffling to me, like, the way they ranked them. Like I said, Arch Manning, if I was to make this list, Arch Manning would be somewhere around 10, 11, just because we hadn't seen him, do
Right.
it. And he would be in that conversation with Austin Simmons and Ty Simpson and those guys there where
Mhm.
you're throwing in, okay, we know we have in guys like Jackson Arnold and Blake Shapen and Zach Calzada. We know what they are. So you're putting the potential, in the middle there, but you got to raise the other guys that have actually done something like Nessmeyer and I think Sellers, I think is a great argument for 1 or 2. You pick
Mhm.
who you like more. I'm a Lenore Sellers guy. I think Lenore Sellers is going to have a massive year. I think he's going to build on what he did last year. But like I said, I just don't understand if they're just going, okay, this is what we think's going to happen, or this is really what they believe. Okay, Arch Manning
Yeah.
is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. When we haven't had the
Yeah.
opportunity to watch him to know if that's true
Yeah.
or not.
And maybe the fact is maybe he's going to be that great, but we did see him in some
Yeah.
positions last year when he had to come in for an injured Quinn Ewers, or he had to come in just because Quinn Ewers had no momentum and he didn't
Yep.
change the pace or anything like that. Whereas you've seen some other guys, even Marcel Reed, he has
Hmm.
done that,
Yeah.
and he was ranked 10, and which
Yeah.
again, that I think is more so a reflection of Texas A&M and not necessarily his talent
Hmm.
level. But I to put him below guys like Ty Simpson, it blows my mind. Marcel Reed is grossly
Yeah.
underestimated. I don't know if I'm going to put him in the top 10 in college football right now at all,
No.
but like he should be above
Yeah.
these guys in the SEC.
Well, when he was healthy and Texas A&M was actually playing good, it was because Marcel Reed was the
Yeah.
quarterback, and we talked about this. We're like,
Mhm.
you got to get Wigman out of the game. You got to be able to find a way to get Marcel Reed in there because he made the offense go so much better than what we saw Connor Wigman do. And like,
Mhm.
I can understand, like the conversation, like with you know Marcel Reed and Gunnar Stockton, 7 and 8,
Yeah.
just because I think Gunnar made Georgia look better offensive wise whenever he came in for Beck when Beck got hurt. His ability to be
Maybe.
able to run, I
Yeah.
think gave him a different element than Carson Beck, where he's just standing in the pocket. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I I I don't understand it really. I mean, even Taylon Green. I mean, Taylon Green
Oh, yeah.
below
I
Ty
underrated
Simpson
for sure.
and Arch Manning too. When we saw Taylon Green, even though Arkansas was bad last year, Taylon
Mhm.
Green was really one of the few bright spots on that
Mhm.
team,
Mhm.
especially offensive wise. So I don't know. I don't understand their thinking here in a lot of this.
Yeah.
It just kind of, yeah,
I mean,
I don't
I'm
know.
right there with you. So, well, that's what sparked the conversation. That's what
Yeah.
was going to continue the conversation. As always, put your thoughts in the chat. Maybe you have a quarterback for your team and you believe in him. We'd love to see what your thoughts are. So go ahead, make sure you put that in the chat. And if you have not already, make sure you hit subscribe because we're bringing football once a week. We're bringing baseball once a week. So if you haven't already, hit
Mhm.
that button so that way you don't miss any of the episodes and you can be part of the conversation each time. So we would appreciate that. But tell me, let's just go ahead and say, do you want to start at who do you think the best quarterback is in college
Yeah,
football this year? Or
yeah.
maybe if you think there's a definitive one, great. But if
Mm.
not, give me your handful, maybe the 3 or 4 that you would say are.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a definitive number one. We kind of mentioned this on our last football episode where we're like, you look at the quarterback playing college football right now, and there's not really one guy that is, completely separated himself, or a couple guys that are just like completely separated themselves from the whole group. But I think for me, if I'm looking at it, if I'm just gonna pick three, I'm gonna say Lenore Sellers. I like I
Mhm.
said, I'm a big fan of Lenore Sellers right now. I think he is someone that if he goes out and puts out a big year, we're going to talk about him as a top 5 pick next year, potentially number one, depending on who has that pick. I
Mhm.
think Garrett Nussmeyer is another one,
Yeah,
but
I would agree.
I think that same thing with him. He is probably the best quarterback right now if you're looking at upcoming draft. And then number three, I'm going to go with Cade Klubnik
Okay.
because I think we have seen him kind of take that step forward last year. Had a much better season last year than he had his first couple of years. I think he's starting to put things together. And do I think he's going to be a great NFL quarterback? No, but I think he's a good college quarterback right now. And there's a few other names I'm sure you can throw in there, like Sam Levitt, which I'm still not sure about. Kid from Arizona State. How's that offense
Yeah.
going to be without Scatabo there?
Yeah, the engine that
But I
made it
think,
run.
yeah, and I think John Mateer is another one that we'll see. See if he's really, the guy that we think he is once he's getting in and playing SEC football every single weekend.
Yeah, that's the thing is John Mateer, I think a lot of people want to give him that because he was the
Hmm.
best piece as far as transfer portal goes.
Yeah,
But until you see it right now, he has to be an honorable mention or that
yeah,
next year. I 100% agree
hmm,
with that as much as I want to say that he is definitely there. But I would agree. Give me Cade Klubnik right now. You saw the steps he took last year, step forward.
hmm.
Even thank goodness for Clemson. Can he do that for a full season? I'm in 100% agreement on that one. Nussmar, I think he's just the prototypical college quarterback.
Yep.
Um, I think he's going to have the framework if he has a productive season to be
Yeah.
one of those top NFL draft picks next year because he's got
Hmm.
the arm for it. He's going to have
Yep.
all the tools that people want to see. The one outside of Sellers, I don't want to think has the potential to jump in here, but I think consistency is going to be big. If DJ Lagway,
Yep.
because he has
Hmm. No.
a lot of the tools, so he's on a
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. So who are some of the guys who actually should have been here, but maybe they've taken a step back?
I mean, I know a lot of people are going to be up in arms that neither of us said Drew Aller, but
Yes.
I, I'm just, I haven't seen this him take a step forward. Yeah, his numbers were slightly better last year. All that. I think he is a big benefit of a really good defense every year.
Hmm.
I just don't know if he has the mental capacity to be a star quarterback.
Yeah.
Granted, he has only played quarterback for like 3 or 4 years. I want to say
Hmm.
he started playing quarterback his maybe the end of his junior high school year and then senior year in the last few years at Penn State. But I don't know. There's something about him when I watch him. Like we we were texting who they end up losing to. Was it Texas? Yeah, Texas in the
Hmm.
playoffs. And they had the ball with a chance to win. I texted
And
you right before he
terrible.
threw the interception. I said,
Here
watch,
comes.
Aller's going to throw an interception. Then boom, throws the interception. And it's just, there's this mental makeup for him that I just don't know if is quite there. And that's one thing that you can't really develop. It's not one of those
Yeah.
things where you can just sit there and, repetition, repetition. This is your mental makeup. Can you make those, those plays? And I don't know if he's quite there right now. and I don't know if
Yeah.
he will ever get there.
Yeah, so I part of that's gonna be just Penn State's program and the way they go about
Mhm.
making things happen. But a
Yeah.
quick shout out real quick to Max in the chat. Thanks for being a part of the W Sports podcast today. But
Yes.
uh, the Drew Aller one is a massive, massive one to me because it's gonna limit. Like he plays for Penn State, they're
Mhm.
not gonna put the big numbers. The other one that I want to point out is Carson Beck.
Yeah.
He took such a big step back last year.
Yeah.
He's got a brand new space in Miami, and Miami had a good season last year. They got a winnable schedule, so he has all the potential to make it work. I'm just not sure that he has maybe the I don't know what the because not Georgia Bulldog anymore. He doesn't have the dog in him anymore. Like
Yeah.
I'm worried that it's literally gone, and
Mhm.
he's gonna have good games against bad teams, and he's gonna be okay against the rest.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be interesting to see how well Miami does because, like you said, Carson Beck was not great last year, but he had the benefit of having playing for Georgia with a really good defense. And can he get your team to win? That's the thing.
Hmm.
I don't think he was the reason they won any of those games last year. Maybe a couple when he had good games, but there was a stretch where he threw interceptions in like 8 straight games. And then he
Hmm.
had 5 or 6 multi-interception games. Like
Hmm.
the fact that they beat Texas in the regular season game when he turned the ball over 3 or 4 times, or the fact that they almost beat Alabama coming from behind when he turned the ball over 4 times. I just I don't know if he is someone that can will your team to win.
Yeah. Well, if you had, so I'm going to kind of adjust the conversation a little bit to kind of, you got to take your
Mhm.
pick here. Two quarterbacks, both with lower programs, but they had a really successful seasons last year. Would you rather have Diego Pavia or Rocco Beck?
Ooh.
I know. Yeah.
I think upside wise, I think Rocco is the pick. I like the potential with Rocco. He was only a sophomore last year. We're talking about Diego Pavia, who's probably shouldn't be playing this year. If they wouldn't have changed that rule, he wouldn't be.
Yeah.
But I think Rocco has a much higher upside. But if we're talking about right now, give me Diego Pavia and give me that energy. I love the energy that he carries on the field. But if we're talking long term, I'm taking Rocco 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, I think so too. Diego Pavia is the version of Dylan Gabriel in the college football. Like he's like a
Yeah,
step. He's the poor man. I'm going to say that just not as a
yeah,
mean thing, but like it's
yeah.
Diego Pavia and Dylan
Hmm.
Gabriel. Do they have the next level? Probably not. We'll see.
No.
A side note: they did say at the rookie mini camps. I don't know. Did you hear any of the thoughts about any of the scouts and coaches and what they said?
Uh-uh.
They said it is noticeable the difference of throwing, like them throwing the ball between obviously Sanders and Gabriel, and it's not even close. Sanders throws a better ball, which I think
Yeah.
you and I not even
Yeah.
close to disagreeing, but it just like what were you thinking in the
Yeah.
draft choices that you had? Come on, Cleveland, constant,
Yep.
yeah,
Absolute Cleveland thing to do.
yeah. More trust in a new location. Five-star prospects moving on. Nico Amaliava or Jackson.
Give me Nico. The
Jackson's got the
mindset that
yips.
yes, the mindset that we saw from Jackson last year, I think is going to be something hard for him to shake. And it was probably really good for him to leave and go to a new situation.
Hmm.
But the you could just tell that he was hesitant a lot after he
Hmm.
got benched. Then they brought him back. Yeah, he played better, once he came off the bench, but he still wasn't, the Jackson Arnold that I think anyone expected. And a big part of it was, could have been the play calling. We know the play calling was awful to start the season.
Dude.
And then, you go to a brand new play caller in the middle of the season, bunch of wide receivers hurt. Maybe he just didn't have trust in those younger guys. I'm not sure, but he was super hesitant on his reads and throwing the football. And that's something that's going to be really tough to overcome.
Yeah.
And we know Nico has all the confidence in the world, and he bet on himself, and it didn't work when it came to the
Hmm.
NIL wise. But I still think that he has the better upside right now.
Yeah. Better year this next year. Like both of them had hype years, and then I would say they didn't hit the full trajectory. So who's more likely to hit the upside trajectory between Avery Johnson at Kansas State, and then Dylan Raiola at Nebraska.
Give me Avery Johnson.
I
And
honestly thought you'd say Dylan.
I know, and
Wow.
I thought I would have said Dylan probably last year, but I like what Avery Johnson does. And Raiola, not taking anything away from him, he is more athletic than people give him credit for. But if we're talking about today's day in football, you have to be able to move as a quarterback. It's just one of those things that, and Raiola is more, not so much, but he is more of a statue when it comes to passing the football. Takes a lot of sacks when he probably shouldn't. Tries to make too many plays from the pocket when he shouldn't. Where we know Avery, whenever he gets out of the pocket, you're talking
He's
about
good playmaking.
a complete different threat on the field where he can beat you with his arm and his legs.
Yeah. Any other quarterbacks that I haven't mentioned, or maybe schools? Because there's one more storyline I have, but I just don't want to jump the gun here.
Yeah. I think to give some credit to some of these these smaller school players, we got to look at a guy like Blake Horvath from Navy. The season he put up last year, can he replicate that again and maybe put himself in the conversation?
That'd be sick.
Maybe put himself in that conversation to be in New York. And then I think another one is Madsen from Boise State. We weren't sure who the starting quarterback was going to be last year. Was it going to be the 5-star transfer from USC, or was it going to be Maddox? And surprisingly, Maddox wins out in the spring. And granted, you're not going to have Ashton Jeanty there this year.
No, you're not.
Maddox was still threw over 3,000 yards last year, even with a dominant run game. He is a really good deep ball thrower, and I think we might see somewhat of a shift in their offensive scheme this year because you don't have the guy that you're going to be able to hand the ball to 30 times a game and see him, rush for 250 yards in a blink of an eye. So maybe we see somewhat of a play style change. Most of the offensive line is returning. They've got some, solid wide receivers there. I think that, some of these small name guys, and then another one, big transfer quarterback, Caden Salter out in Colorado. Can he
let's go
kind of prove himself? There had been a lot of talk around him. Liberty wasn't as good last year, but that big part of that was the fact that you lose your head coach, you lost a lot of your playmakers on the offensive side. So it was basically him, there by himself. Goes to, Coach Prime up there in Boulder, Colorado. Can he step into those shoes that Shedeur left and, keep them competitive?
Well, and hopefully they have a better offensive line and at least somewhat running game, because otherwise I don't know how much success he's going to have. But he's going to have all the opportunity, and he's going to have a lot of media attention on because Coach Prime is still there, thank goodness. More likely to have a bounce back year, Jalen Daniels or Noah Fifita.
Give me Jalen Daniels. I love Fifita. We both love Fifita, but you lose a guy like Tet McMillan.
I know. It's a massive loss.
Yeah. I mean, you could just throw the ball up in the middle of the field and you go, okay, well, I know Tet somewhere's there. He's probably going to come down with the football. You don't have that. And they just haven't reloaded enough to really help him out. We don't like the transfer portal, but for a guy like that, playing his last year, I would have liked to see him go somewhere to give him a chance to boost his draft stock and, at least compete in college football this year.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I want to say Noah Fifita because he just brings so much hype and passion for the game. But the talent level is a big piece, and then the coaching is the other side. And what we've seen at KU is maybe a basketball school, but their head coach and their development has been great. And they're going to have a brand new stadium this season. They're going to get to go play in it. So, hopefully the crowd and the atmosphere will be better. Their old stadium was small, but it was, there's no bad seats.
No
bad seats.
Just a
360
view.
Exactly. So the last kind of conversation piece I'd love to know your thoughts on, Tubby, is the team. There's a lot of unfamiliar names in big programs. We'll put it that way. So you got Alabama, Ohio State. We could go through the list. Even USC has a new quarterback going this year. So all these names, who is the one that you're most worried about at this point? And we're mid June, so most worried about right now.
It's Alabama.
Ty
I
Simpson is currently their projected starter, correct?
Yeah, yeah, and Ty was a five-star quarterback. Don't get me wrong, there was some talent there, but I just I think with the way the season ended for them, ended on
Hmm.
such a horrible note,
Hmm.
and I just I mean, you lose Justice Haynes, they didn't have much of a run game last year outside of Jalen Milroe. You lose your top running back from last year, he transfers to Michigan, and the wide receiver play has been very underwhelming for them also. Kalen DeBoer is on the hot seat after only one
Already,
season.
which is stupid, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, and you lose, a couple offensive linemen. You're gonna have a few new guys in there on the offensive line. I just don't think that this team, when it's all said and done, I would be I would not be surprised if they weren't a top 20 team.
Yeah. Well, I think this year I haven't looked at their schedule yet moving
Yeah,
forward. I could real quick, but like um it's an SEC schedule. You'll have the extra
yeah,
game against an FCS school, but
mhm.
it's going to be a team that you're going to have to, I think, claw and fight to get to 8, 9 wins, and
Yeah,
that's. Oof. But they do get Florida State as one of their own conference games. I don't know. I still don't buy into
yeah,
Florida State, so just throwing
yeah,
that out
no,
there.
but, like, right now, though, I mean, I don't buy into to Alabama either. I mean, you
Hmm.
see some of these rankings and, like, these preseason early rankings, and you take a big look at it, and it's like, okay, you got Ohio State number 1. Okay, who's Ohio State's quarterback? Julian Sand, probably, five-star quarterback, transferred from Alabama after Saban left. Never really taken a snap in college football. And then you look at the
Yeah.
names that he lost. You lost 3 starting offensive linemen, you lost your 2 starting running backs, you lose Emeka Egbuka, and then we're not even talking about the defensive side of things. And then you go to the next team, Georgia, you still have questions there too. Where's the offensive playmakers coming from? You got a new starting quarterback. Yeah, he is a different kind of quarterback than Carson Beck, so maybe there's something there because we saw when Bennett was there, he was more mobile and was able to run and pick up plays on with his legs. And then it's like
Yeah.
Texas, you got a whole new regime there. You lost 3 receivers, you lost your starting quarterback, you lost 2 of your starting offense linemen, starting running backs. It's going to be an interesting year this year in college football on how things play out because the quarterback play is so crucial when it comes to college football.
Yeah, well, can that what a great transition moment there, right there, Tubby. We'll wrap it all together. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate you all joining the show today live. We'll be back again next week with another football episode. And believe it or not, we're like what a little over 3 months from season kicking off. So we're gonna have more just
Mhm.
episodes where we're breaking down and kind of off-season storylines, but also projections for the season. So we'll have some of the power conferences because we are about a month away from even media day starting, and that's when all the talk starts to really, really get out there.
Yeah.
So, as we wrap up today's episode, Tubby, who you got in the College World Series softball game today? It's not OU, which I'm sorry, but it's
Nah,
game 3 today. Texas is the home team against Tech.
let's go Red Raiders. I don't want to see
That's right,
Texas
Red
win.
Raiders all day long. Not Texas. I do think Texas wins the game. Unfortunately, they're the home team. It
Yeah.
feels like whoever's home is going to win this one. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Well, thanks again, guys, for joining the show. We'll see y'all next time.
See ya.